Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Countries can rise or fall on a piece of technology that fits on the tip of your finger. Semiconductors are critical for everything from weapon systems to microwaves. Currently, the world's biggest manufacturer of these chips is Taiwan, although China is set on taking over global production. As Brody Carter reports, that could mean a chip war in the making.
The key to dominating international technology and computing power rests in semiconductor chips, basically the brains of modern electronics. And you might be surprised the United States isn't the world leader in this multi-billion-dollar industry. It's not even second. The U.S. government's goal is simply to stay ahead of China.
When we look at the world's most advanced chips, Taiwan makes 92% of them. Matter of fact, one company in Taiwan makes 92%.
The small island of Taiwan clearly dominates the world's semiconductor market. That single manufacturer Cheng refers to is TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, and Apple is its biggest customer.
So if it were knocked offline, we'd face a huge economic crisis because of our inability to get the chips we need.
Tufts University professor Chris Miller is the author of Chip War, the fight for the world's most critical technology. He says the Taiwanese company's dominance in semiconductors makes OPEC's 40% share of world oil production pale by comparison.
Today, China spends as much money importing semiconductors as it spends importing oil. And it buys those chips in large part from U.S. firms that make great business selling to China.
The chip industry is made possible by a symbiotic relationship among key countries that forms a very complex supply chain. America, the world's largest market, also makes up 40% of the total value of this international supply machine.
Today, if you want to make an advanced chip, the most cutting-edge chips that you'd find in a smartphone or data center, it's simply impossible to do without using software from the U.S., machine tools from the Netherlands, the U.S., and Japan, ultra-purified chemicals from Japan, as well as manufacturing capabilities in Taiwan. It's an international process.
Just a few years ago, China's tech giant Huawei was TSMC's #2 customer. Then the Trump administration tightened restrictions, preventing Huawei from getting chips developed by the U.S. due to espionage and national security concerns.
Huawei is something that's very dangerous. You look at what they've done from a security standpoint, from a military standpoint, it's very dangerous.
If Taiwan were taken over, or even if Taiwan wasn't taken over, but there was a war in the Taiwan Straits that Taiwan repelled, even still, the shock to semiconductor supply chains would cause a deep depression in manufacturing industries worldwide. And the reason is that today, all types of goods require semiconductors. It's not just smartphones or PCs, sort of high-tech goods that you might think of. It's your car, which might have hundreds of semiconductors inside, your coffee maker, your microwave, almost anything with an on-off switch today has semiconductors inside of it.
More importantly, Miller told CBN News microchips has revolutionized American warfare. Semiconductors made in Taiwan are used in F-35 fighter jets and a wide range of U.S. military-grade weapons and defense systems. Since the world's entire tech ecosystem can't function without these chips, that makes the sovereign island ground zero for a chip war between the U.S. and China.
And that means that the world's made-to-order chips are made on China's doorstep. Both South Korea and Taiwan are vulnerable, and it is not inconceivable that China could take over both of them.
That's what makes the Communist government's Made in China 2025 plan to make the country dominant in global high-tech manufacturing a true threat to the U.S., both economically and militarily.
As China's become stronger, it's become more belligerent, more provocative, more aggressive. This is perhaps the greatest mistake America has made throughout its history, and it's a mistake that we may not survive.
It's one reason the U.S. followed suit with the CHIPS Act, pouring out billions to bring chip manufacturing and research back to the U.S.
If you want to build a cutting-edge chip-making facility, it'll cost $20 or $25 billion for just one plant. These are the most expensive factories in human history.
TSMC has committed at least $12 billion to build a chip fabrication plant in Arizona. Still, neither China nor the U.S. can overtake Taiwan and achieve self-sufficiency anytime soon.
We should care about where they're made because we need them to drive our economy. And it is the case increasingly that things that are further away, things that are at the hands of geopolitical adversaries, may not be attainable at all times. And that provides, a concern, a vulnerability for us. It also provides our adversaries a strength that they can use.
While Taiwan has maintained its sovereignty for more than 70 years, China still considers the island nation its property and regularly provokes it militarily. Given China's authoritarian use of technology against its own people and the potential power of semiconductors, who controls the world's technology and data is paramount. This evolving technology makes semiconductors even more of a national security concern, especially with progress in artificial intelligence and quantum computing. The chip war is well underway, and exactly how hostile this war becomes remains to be seen. Brody Carter, CBN News.
Well, any kind of strength, weakness analysis, you always look at single points of failure. If Taiwan Semiconductor would fail, you literally wipe out 90% of the world's production. That's why it's important for us to stand for Taiwan and to stand for Taiwan's independence. Literally everything that we use to run the world is dependent on that one company. Mommy wine culture, well, that's a catchphrase of a marketing campaign targeting young mothers. It aims to convince them that they need alcohol to cope with the pressures of raising children. Social media memes make it sound like it's harmless fun. Well, CBN medical reporter Lori Johnson shows us why it's deadly serious.
Wine gets better with age. I get better with wine. Okay, guilty. You girls know that's true. We do.
The troubling messages often try to be humorous and appear on a number of products, from baby clothes with "Mommy drinks because I cry" to wine glasses with "Mommy's sippy cup," T-shirts reading "Coffee, Hockey Mom, Wine Repeat," and even memes like "the most expensive part of having kids is all the wine you have to drink."
I think this messaging that is everywhere, it normalizes this behavior of drinking to survive parenthood. And it normalizes this idea that like drinking a lot is no big deal.
As it turns out, the messaging sadly reflects reality. Kelly Manley turned to alcohol to fit in with her peers, who she observed drinking everywhere at kids' birthday parties, soccer practices, you name it.
People would show up to the park with little, discreet glasses of wine to have at, 4 p.m. on a play date at the park. You go to the zoo, and for a small upcharge, you can buy a flight of beer, not just a beer, but a flight of beer to enjoy while you're pushing your kid around the zoo.
And like other events these days, it's going digital, like the Moms Who Need Wine Facebook group.
Alcohol has been sold as the ultimate way to decompress, to cope, and to bond with other women. And it's very dangerous.
The alcohol industry has certainly played a part. Back in the 90s, it ushered in the so-called pinking of the market, making and advertising booze aimed specifically at women.
Drink these sweetened, pre-sweetened, gorgeous, attractive pink drinks that will end you into drinking spirits, drinking pretty wine, drinking wine with names like, French Rabbit.
And it worked. While historically men consumed the most alcohol, women are now catching up. In the last 15 years, the greatest increase in consumption has been among women in their 30s and 40s. However, because of biological differences, women absorb more alcohol and take longer to metabolize it than men. That means the same amount of alcohol typically damages the female body more than the man's. After drinking the same amount of alcohol, women tend to have higher blood alcohol levels than men, and the effects usually occur more quickly and last longer in women. Alcohol also makes women more susceptible than men to liver disease, heart disease, cancer, and cognitive decline. U.S. health officials recommend women should drink no more than 5 ounces of wine a day. Canadian health officials go further, saying only 2 5-ounce glasses per week.
This is a women's health issue. It's, in fact, a big public health issue.
And it's not just physical. Alcohol affects mental health, too. which is why Kelly gave it up.
It just exacerbated my feelings of anxiety and depression. And I felt like I was betraying myself every time I drank.
She's not alone. More moms are rejecting mommy wine culture and turning to groups like Sober Mom Squad.
Having a safe space where you can talk to other moms about, the questions you're having about alcohol or how difficult it is to navigate in this culture where everyone tells you need to drink to be a parent, and not have to justify that you should just be grateful to have kids.
Many moms are also saying no because they're concerned about the culture's impact on their child's self-esteem.
Most problematic part of it is, what is it saying to your kids? Again, if it's, tongue-in-cheek jokes like between friends, that's one thing. But when you're wearing the T-shirt that said "Mommy needs wine," saying that you have to, I have to drink because you're difficult. I think that leads into something that's even more damaging.
So while pop culture and big alcohol try to convince new moms life is better with booze, a growing number are rejecting that message for the sake of their own health as well as their families. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
I wish being sober were somehow cool in our culture, but unfortunately there's no industry behind sobriety. There's plenty of industry behind the wine industry, behind the alcohol industry, and all they're trying to do is encourage you to drink more of their product. But here's the problem. If you drink to solve your problems, all you're doing is irrigating them, and you're making them worse. Alcohol, medical science says, alcohol is a depressant. So if you're sad, if you're overcome by what's going on in your life, and you add alcohol to the mix, all you're doing is making it worse. It's not helping you at all. So if you see someone wearing that T-shirt, if you see someone with that throw pillow, it's a warning sign. It's a wake-up call for all the friends, all the family around that individual. They need help. And wouldn't it be wonderful if the community came around mothers and said, how can we help you? How can we relieve your burden today? Instead of that glass of wine, how about having a spa day and I'll help you with the kids and you go have a moment where you can decompress and do so very healthily with health behind it, not with something that's going to make it worse. Terry?